Yo guys, welcome back to the Ball and I Part 9, where we'll be talking about all of the game threes in the playoffs, what happened and how they went down. The first thing I want to say is that these were some of the best games that we've seen in a while. First, as some of the different games went close, some of the different games were blowouts, some of the different games happened. But today I'm going to be talking about all of the game threes and talking about how these game threes are showing different things in different aspects of the NBA right now. But first, let's start with the games that were not as interesting. Today, I'm going to be talking about every game, so there's going to be a lot of them. There's a lot of them which are happening right now, game fours, and even right now, as I'm speaking to you, the Thunder and Grizzlies game is happening. So let's go over all of it. I'm going to start with the Rockets-Warriors, which happened, which is game 2, which is the only game I haven't covered from that series. And then I'll go from there until today's matchup, which was Cavs Heat. So that's the sequentialism of it. The first thing I do want to say is that the more boring games were the Clippers Nuggets, as the Bucks Pacers, and the Cavaliers Heat. These were 3 games that were mostly blowouts, as the Nuggets Clippers was actually a blowout. The Nuggets were consistently just going, getting at them, doing all this stuff. And when I looked at the Nuggets, I was saying like, hey, the Nuggets have a problem. Their problem is that the Clippers arena was affecting their mood. And I know that sounds crazy, but when you looked at the games, the Clippers arena, the noise, how loud their fans sounded was crazy. I was looking at the highlights and I was telling myself, like, this worked. Steve Ballmer is a genius because he made that wall on the side of the arena and he told them, if you're not loud enough, you won't be able to buy seats there again. The seats are cheaper and it's made for real fans which have attended the games and have shown to love the Clippers. This means that their fan section is amazing, and it is causing other teams to actually play worse, meaning that if you have better arenas, if you spend more money on your decor, on your design, on your architecture, then you will be able to create a better playoff experience, which is something that no other team has done in a while until recently. So seeing these changes as they play their first games in the Intuit Dome, which is the Clippers' new arena, is awesome. Secondly, with the Cavaliers Heat, first game in Miami, but let me be honest, I'm a Heat fan. I didn't think that they were going to win. It was a pretty obvious tale. In the second quarter, the Cavaliers were leading 39-20, and it was obvious that the Cavaliers were going to win, as they just have a better team. They have extremely better, consistency, and if one guy doesn't show up, they have 20 guys, which is something that the Heat just simply don't have. In this game, Tyler Hero obviously is getting targeted on defense by the other teams, and he still managed to perform very well in these playoffs, averaging 27. But it's gonna be very hard for anybody to actually be able to win with this Heat squad because of the inconsistencies that they have. Them making the playoffs already was a stretch. Nevertheless, making the playoffs with all of this, all of these changes that have happened throughout the season, it never looked good from the Heat to begin with. Then, when we look at the Pacers-Bucks, the Bucks finally won by Gary Trent and Giannis both scoring 37. This is a problem, as I do believe that the Bucks shouldn't need their guys to be that good, as everybody else should be able to contribute. I will say that Giannis is standing out, and he's been the best player in these entire playoffs, averaging 37 points a game or 38 points a game for a Bucks team which has done nothing to help him except maybe Gary Trent, which is one player, and he helped him win this game. But no, I'm telling you, the Bucks are cooked. Giannis needs to leave the Bucks next season, because if he doesn't leave the Bucks, then he's going to be wasting his prime, wasting his career on a team that is not doing well for him. Keeping it going, when we look at the more interesting matchups, we could see that the Rockets-Warriors, that one was good, but it was more of a one-sided thing towards the Rockets, as soon as Jimmy got injured, there was no way of coming back. In my opinion, that was a pretty dirty play, what they did to Jimmy, and what they've been doing to these guys all series, as the Rockets are really trying to injure them just to win this series. Now, let's not act like we haven't seen this before. We've seen this, that Michael Jordan did that every season. But this is not good. This is playoff basketball, so obviously people don't bat an eye. But injuring other players to win series is not the way to do it, and it will never be the way to do it. And I shame the Rockets for that. But with that being said, even after that, you still had to win the game, and Jalen Green went crazy and dropped 38. For the Thunder Grizzlies, it was one of the better comebacks of all time, as the Thunder were able to come back from one of the biggest deficits in playoff history and then beat the Grizzlies by 6 points. Obviously, this was another unfortunate game, as Ja Morant got injured during the game because he was trying to hit a monstrous dunk over Lou Dort, and Lou Dort was falling on his back. In my opinion, I think Scottie Pippen Jr. should have just laid the ball up or dunked it himself, as I don't understand why he would pass it to Ja to get the highlight. But the Grizzlies have a lot of things to work on, and they kind of need their guys to become more veteran players to understand how to win the playoffs, as having all these young guys leads to these stupid moments where you have one guy just trying to yam it on another on an open fast break. Like, come on, bro. You could have just laid that up. It's not Lou Dort's fault, by the way. He was falling on his butt, and he had just had a collision with Scottie Pippen Jr. It just happened that he was falling, and then Ja was right behind him in the air. It was none of their faults. I feel like Scottie Pippen is the one that should have acted differently in this situation. With the Celtics Magic, I do believe that this was one of the better games. Shout out to Jason Tatum, because he was playing phenomenally in this game. But I do believe that in this matchup, the big thing for Orlando was going up in the fourth quarter. The Celtics came back, and they came back strong. Derek White, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown were doing everything, but Franz Wagner and Paolo were able to score just enough to win. In my opinion, the Orlando Magic looked weak in the fourth quarter, and they need to be better at guarding that ball, as when you're up 86-80 in the fourth quarter, right? Or when you're up actually 86-77, as they were at one point, and they were up 86-74, which their biggest lead. So you're telling me that you were up by 12 points and won by 2? That is wrong, as if you're up 12 points in the fourth quarter, it doesn't matter how good the other team is, you need to be able to at least either score more or make better plays. That's because of their age and because of their inexperience. But all of those matchups where it was like it was 86 and it was 74, 76, then it turned to 80, then it keeps going, and then they just had to come back and come back and come back until Franz Wagner obviously hit that beautiful layup, which put them at 93, which is, in my opinion, where they won the game. Then the challenge and all that happened, but yada, 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 yada. Orlando won. I'm happy. I live in Orlando. I love Orlando. They're my secondary team after the Heat, because obviously I'm a Heat fan since birth. But yeah, then the Lakers Timberwolves was probably my favorite matchup that I've watched that was not called Knicks Pistons, as the Lakers Timberwolves was amazing. It was a great game. LeBron dropped 38 points, showing that he's not washed, showing that he's here to win the playoffs, but the rest of the team was wrong, as Luka did have that very nasty sickness, and as the rest of the team just kind of looked winded because Minnesota was playing amazingly. Shout out to Julius Randle, as he has been doubted all season from his abilities in the playoffs, but he showed out this game being one of the better players. But the Lakers need to do better at containing Anthony Edwards in the fourth quarter, as he scored, I think, 10 out of the last 12 or 13 points that the Timberwolves scored. A 3, a layup, a 3, and then I think another layup. And he closed the game out single-handedly by himself. This is something that is very concerning, as when we look at these guys, we know that their abilities, but Anthony Edwards has been taking what we know from him and exceeding it in a way that we haven't seen from a lot of stars. So he's looking like he's about to become the next generational star, right there with LeBron, right there with Giannis, right there with Jokic, right there with those other guys, if you weren't already considering him in that tier. Finally, the Knicks-Pistons game was one of my other favorite games in these matchups, as the Knicks and Pistons both had an amazing game. Both played amazing. But at the end of the day, the Knicks were just playing better, and the Pistons managed to make it close at the end, but it was never really the Pistons' win. It was just the Knicks doing what they do. And Karl Anthony Towns has been showing out. He was doing everything. He was putting his tongue out. He was doing the celebration back-to-back. He was showing out in Detroit. Also, shout out to Jalen Brunson, as in the clutch. That guy cannot miss. But yeah, that was the playoffs. Thank you for watching. Peace.